Let's bring in retired four-star General Jack Keane, a Fox News senior strategic analyst, former Vice Chief of Staff of the Army, and chairman of the Institute for the Study of War. General, it's always great to see you. When you listen to Jeff Paul's reporting there and you hear these stories about another nuclear power plant being targeted by Russia, and then you have these, what the Ukrainians are calling sham votes to annex territories like Luhansk and Donetsk. What do you make of that? Are these signs of desperation by Russia?
Well, certainly there's been a major setback as a result of the successful Kharkiv counteroffensive. What Putin is attempting to do here, one of his major strategic objectives, Trace, has always been to break the will of the Ukrainian people, to get them tired of this war because of the casualties, to their loved ones, certainly, who are fighting the war, but also casualties to themselves and the degree of suffering. So what's about the nuclear plants? They don't want to hit a reactor, certainly, because that would cause as much trouble to their own forces as it is going to the Ukrainian people and even possibly the people in Russia itself. But they're playing a very dangerous game, as Jeff has pointed out here, in using missiles and also artillery very close to those reactors. What they want is to shut off the reactor's ability to connect to the grid, to the electric grid. That is the tactical objective, so that winter is coming and the power is shut down for the Ukrainian people as part of their strategic objective. The second thing you mentioned is the referendums that's going on in 4 regions: Luhansk, Donetsk, Kherson, and also Zaporizhia. The Russians don't even control all of that, but they want these referendums as a political victory after having just suffered a very tactical defeat by annexing them part of Russia, and then they can say they can use all military means available to them, Trace, to be able to protect this part of Russia, which everybody knows is really Ukraine. And I don't think it's something that we or the Ukrainians need to be overly concerned about, even though it's a political move, because the Ukrainians have attacked Crimea multiple times, and it's a part of Russia in Russia's mind. In Ukrainians' mind, it's not. And they have not escalated as a result of that.
And I'm wondering, General, because it sounds like this Ukrainian counteroffensive has a lot of high-ranking people in Russia, in the Kremlin, as well as Russia's proxies, very concerned about how protracted this war has become and who gets the upper hand eventually.
Well, Putin certainly by now has made up his mind that this war is not going to end in weeks and months, that it is a protracted war. And he believes time is on his side, because eventually, over time, he has more people, he's got more ammunition, and he's got more equipment than the Ukrainians have. And he believes a couple things will happen over time. 1, break the will of the Ukrainian people. 2, break the will of the international community that's providing arms, munitions, and economic financing to the Ukrainians. He thinks in time that will happen. That's why it's absolutely critical the international community stay engaged here, and the United States leads and continues to lead aggressively in that manner.
Yeah, in general, I don't have really time to play the soundbite here, but I want to get your take on the president saying on Sunday night that if Taiwan was attacked by China, that yes, in fact, the U.S. would defend that island. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I mean, the policy stated is supposed to be strategic ambiguity. And for our audience to understand, this goes back to 1979 Taiwan Relations Act. China and the United States agreed to maintain peace and stability across the Taiwan Straits. But President Xi has violated that year over year for 10 years. And it's high time, and I think it's very appropriate for the president to say, look, if China is going to continue their actions and they're going to use force to take back Taiwan, of course the United States is going to respond to that. We're not just going to provide them arms and munitions. We will respond militarily to that act. He said it 4 times. I think he means it, and that should be our policy.
Except the White House keeps walking it back. General Keane, it's always great to see you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, great talking to you, Trace.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.